Something massive just appeared on the Polish border. And military analysts say it could change the drone war overnight. Because this time, it's not a missile system, not a fighter jet, not even a traditional air defense network. It's something far more brutal. A layered anti-drone shield designed specifically to stop swarm attacks. And if it works, it could make drone warfare dramatically less effective. The timing is not a coincidence. Over the past months, drone strikes have reshaped modern conflict. Small, cheap, expendable aircraft, used for reconnaissance, targeting, and direct attacks. And at first, they worked. Swarm tactics overwhelmed traditional defenses. Radar struggled to detect low-flying drones. Missiles designed for aircraft proved too expensive to use. It created a dangerous imbalance. Large air defense systems, costing millions, were forced to intercept drones worth only thousands. But then, something changed. Construction activity began along key positions near the Polish frontier. Satellite imagery showed new installations, rows of unusual towers, compact radar arrays, mobile electronic warfare vehicles. At first, there was no official explanation, but analysts quickly realized this wasn't ordinary infrastructure. This was phase one of a new defensive strategy. Instead of relying on long-range missiles, the system focused on detection. Low-altitude radar grids, designed to spot even tiny drone signatures. Acoustic sensors, listening for propeller noise. Thermal cameras, scanning for heat patterns. Individually, none of these technologies were new. But combined, they created something different. A continuous detection wall. Drones that once slipped through gaps were now visible. Slow-moving targets, tracked in real time. However, detection alone wasn't enough, because identifying drones doesn't stop them. And that's where the second layer appeared. Electronic warfare units. These mobile systems emitted powerful jamming signals, disrupting GPS navigation, blocking remote control frequencies, confusing onboard guidance. Drones entering the zone began drifting off course. Some lost signal completely. Others hovered before crashing. But even this wasn't the final piece, because modern drones can operate autonomously. Pre-programmed routes, AI-based navigation. No signal required. So the engineers added something else. Short-range rapid-fire defense guns, mounted on mobile platforms, guided by radar and optical tracking, designed specifically for small aerial targets. Unlike missiles, these systems fire inexpensive rounds, capable of intercepting multiple drones in seconds. And suddenly, the layered shield became lethal. Detection, jamming, physical interception. 3 layers, working simultaneously. But the escalation didn't stop there. Mobile laser systems were also spotted near the installations. Directed energy weapons, capable of burning through drone components. Silent, instant, unlimited shots, as long as power remains. This changed the equation entirely. Drone swarms rely on numbers, but lasers don't run out of ammunition. And that raised a critical question. Was this just a defensive deployment? Or the beginning of a new anti-drone doctrine? Because if effective, this system could be replicated elsewhere, creating protected corridors, safe logistics routes, secure airspace zones. However, the risk of escalation immediately increased. New defenses often trigger new tactics. Drone operators could adapt. Higher altitude flights, faster speeds, decoy swarms. And that means this is only the beginning. Because what happens next could define the future of drone warfare. But then, something even more unusual appeared. Convoys moving at night. Heavy trucks, covered in camouflage nets. Satellite images captured them, stopping briefly, then disappearing. When they reappeared, the defensive grid had expanded. Phase 2 had begun. Instead of fixed positions, mobile anti-drone teams were now deployed. Each unit carried compact radar, portable jammers, rapid response interceptors. These teams could relocate within minutes, meaning the shield was no longer static, it was moving. And that made it far more unpredictable. Drone operators depend on mapping defenses, finding gaps, exploiting weak points. But now, the gaps kept shifting. However, what happened next changed everything. Airborne assets joined the network. Surveillance aircraft began flying patterns near the border. Their mission: detect drone launches before they even crossed the line. This extended the defensive bubble outward. Instead of reacting, the system could anticipate. And once a drone was detected early, ground jammers activated, tracking radars locked on, interceptors prepared. This shortened response time dramatically. Seconds, instead of minutes. But the most brutal addition came from above. Short-range interceptor drones. Yes, drones hunting drones. These fast-moving units launched automatically, guided by the detection network. They closed distance rapidly, then collided with incoming UAVs. Cheap, effective, disposable. Swarm versus swarm. And suddenly, the battlefield flipped. The same tactic used offensively was now defensive. Drone waves that once overwhelmed defenses were now intercepted mid-air. However, the escalation didn't stop there. Electronic warfare intensity increased. Wide-area signal denial zones were activated. GPS interference spread across large sectors. Navigation systems struggled. Even advanced drones began drifting off course. Some turned back. Others descended uncontrollably. And analysts started using a new phrase: drone denial corridor. A protected airspace where unmanned attacks lose effectiveness. But this triggered a strategic concern. If one corridor exists, more can follow. Supply routes, command centers, airfields, all shielded. And that's when the coalition factor emerged. Multiple NATO-aligned forces reportedly studied the deployment. Observers visited installations. Technical teams analyzed performance. This wasn't just a border defense anymore. It was becoming a blueprint. And that raised the stakes. Because if replicated across Eastern Europe, drone saturation tactics could lose their advantage. But there was still a problem. No system is perfect. High-speed drones could still attempt penetration. Low-cost decoys could overwhelm sensors. Long-range autonomous systems might bypass jamming. Which means the threat remains. And intelligence reports suggested countermeasures were already being tested. Faster drones, frequency-hopping communication, AI-based navigation immune to jamming. A technological arms race unfolding in real time. Minutes, not months. And yet, the psychological impact was immediate. Operators who once relied on cheap drone strikes now faced uncertainty. Would their drones reach target? Or disappear inside the shield? This hesitation alone changes battlefield tempo. Because when attacks slow, defenses strengthen. And that's exactly what's happening. More units arriving. Grid expanding. Coverage widening. Phase 3 appears imminent. A fully integrated anti-drone wall. Land. Air. electronic spectrum, all synchronized. If completed, it could neutralize mass drone attacks in critical sectors. But one question remains. Will this new shield permanently shift the balance? Or will the next generation of drones find a way through? But then, Phase 3 quietly began. Additional power units arrived. Communication masts extended higher. Fiber links connected scattered defenses. This wasn't just expansion. It was integration. Every radar, every jammer, every interceptor now fed into a single command network. A unified anti-drone brain. Targets detected in one sector could be engaged by another. This eliminated blind spots. And suddenly, the defensive wall became seamless. Drone operators attempting saturation found their paths predicted, their routes blocked, their signals jammed simultaneously. But the most decisive upgrade came next. High-energy microwave systems. Unlike lasers, these weapons didn't target one drone at a time. They emitted bursts, disabling electronics across a wide area. Entire drone clusters went dark. Circuits fried. Navigation lost. Cameras offline. Swarm tactics neutralized in seconds. And that's when analysts started calling it a drone graveyard. However, escalation followed immediately. Reports indicated new testing activity beyond the frontier. Longer-range UAVs. Higher-altitude approaches. Stealth coatings. The counter-move had begun. Because whenever a defense evolves, the offense adapts. But the layered shield had one more advantage. Redundancy. Even if drones bypassed jamming, guns engaged. If guns missed, interceptor drones launched. If swarms broke through, microwave bursts activated. Multiple chances to stop every threat. And results started appearing. Test incursions reportedly failed. Simulated swarm attacks fragmented mid-flight. Autonomous drones lost coordination. The system wasn't perfect, but it was effective enough to change planning assumptions. Commanders could now secure logistics corridors, fuel depots, ammunition hubs, command posts, previously all vulnerable to cheap UAV strikes. This altered operational tempo. Supply convoys moved more freely. Forward bases operated longer. Air defense missiles conserved. The economic impact mattered too. Instead of firing expensive interceptors, low-cost defenses handled small drones. Sustainability improved. But the geopolitical impact was even bigger. Observers from multiple allied forces studied the deployment. Technical manuals drafted. Replication plans discussed. If rolled out widely, entire regions could become drone-resistant, and that would reshape modern warfare. Because for the past few years, drones dominated the battlefield. Cheap, scalable, disruptive. Now, a counterweight was emerging. A layered shield, built not for aircraft, but specifically for unmanned threats. Yet the story isn't over. New drone concepts are already being explored. Swarming AI, autonomous target recognition, satellite-independent navigation, each designed to bypass jamming, which means the arms race continues. The Polish border installation may be the first, but it won't be the last. More systems, more layers, more experimentation. And somewhere, engineers are already designing the next breakthrough. Because in modern warfare, every advantage is temporary. So the real question now is, will this brutal anti-drone shield redefine battlefield dominance? Or will the next generation of drones simply evolve and break through again?